There's a fire in my soul, in my soul. And every time it burns, that's when I know where to go, where to go, where I am to go.
Hello, welcome to this episode of Behind the Senior Lens. I'm your host, Lori Wood Habiger, also photographer at Center Stage Seniors in the Kansas City area. Today, I'm talking with my friend, Stacee de La Bastide, and she is a senior portrait photographer in the Orlando, Florida area. So let's welcome Stacee. Welcome, Stacee.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm so glad that you joined me today on Behind the Senior Lens. And everyone, Stacee and I have known each other for a little while. She was hosting some chats for one of the senior magazines, and I popped on one day and I just really liked Stacee, and we really hit it off. Since then, we've talked a million times behind the scenes. We went to a conference together. We
Yep.
spent hours in airports together. We just, she and I are girlfriends now. So tell me about yourself. Where's your business located? And start with that.
Okay, so a little long-winded. I used to be in California, and that's where I started my senior business, was over in California. And about a year ago, I moved to Orlando, Florida, and I'm trying to rebuild a business from scratch. So it's kind of interesting and fun and, starting all over, getting back to the hustle.
So in a way you can reinvent yourself, but then it's just so hard once you're got a business built somewhere and you move literally across the country and now you're having to get all that started up again as if
Well,
you're
because, when I first started in California, it was like I had the hustle in me because it was like, I need to build a portfolio. I'm going to take model calls. I'm going to do all these things because I had to build a portfolio of work to put out there. But like, it's like now I have a portfolio of work, but I have to do the hustling once again because I have no brand recognition here. Nobody knows who I am.
right.
So.
So Stacee, how did you get started in photography to begin with?
So back before I was a photographer, I was a chef. And I really, really liked, I lived in DC at the time, but I loved taking pictures at my restaurant of the food and the stuff that I was doing there. But I also loved just going around DC and taking pictures of like the architecture, or they would have like a tulip festival down by the basin. And I loved taking pictures of the flowers. So I was like, I'm getting one of those big cameras like everybody else has. And I went to Best Buy and I bought my first DSLR, Canon 7D, and I was like, I'm going to do all the things. And then I realized they were a lot more technical than I was expecting. So I was shooting on all auto. And then I got pregnant and had kids. And so I kind of put the camera away. But then we moved to Texas. So then we moved to Texas and I had two babies and I was like, well, I really want to, I'm home now and I really want to learn how to use the camera. And I took a class with a local photographer who has like, she does documentary photography of her family and her work is just amazing. And I was like, I want to do like that. That's cool. And so I took a class with her and it was amazing. We just sat in her living room and she taught us all about light, like lighting, like if you shoot towards the light, away from the light, all the stuff. And then she got us off of auto and got us onto manual and taught us like how to use the settings and like this is going to give you more grain and this is going to do that. And so I was like, oh, I really like that. And so while I was living in Texas, I took a lot of pictures of my family, but I also did a lot of we would travel down like old Route 66 and I would take pictures of like the old hotels, like the little teepee hotels with the classic cars in front and all that stuff, and I just loved it. So in Dallas there's like a really good group of like photographer moms. It's called like Click and Moms or whatever, and they did a what they call click and walk. And so basically they just all met downtown and they just walk around downtown shooting. And one of the photographers brought her teenage daughter and the boyfriend. And then there was an other teenagers there, but I kind of stuck with that group because I was like, I only shoot my family. I don't know what I'm doing. But I started working with them and I just started like shooting. And I was like, wait a second. Like, I like this. I like shooting portraits like this. Like, it's cute. Like, I enjoy this. And I just, from there, I started building. Shortly after that, we moved to California. So I was like, well, this is the perfect opportunity. This change of pace is a perfect opportunity for me to open, like a little business in the middle of a pandemic. But I did it. That's the story.
So you've only been doing senior portraits really for like 5 years, about
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
little
I
under.
really did it. Like, I had this thing in my head that I was like, I don't want to charge anyone until like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I know how to use the camera. I know how to look at light. I know how to edit those pictures afterwards so that they look good. Like, I didn't want to come out and like charge and do anything to anyone until I was like, I could provide. And I think that was like my chef mentality. Like, I don't want to do anything until I'm doing it the right way and the way that it's supposed to be. So I'm not like, it wasn't like you see some of those photographers pop out there now and they're like, I got a fancy camera. And you're like, okay, but let's talk about light for a minute, darling. Like, that's really harsh.
Right. So that's really the way to go. We've all seen all over the internet people, clients upset because they hire somebody for $50 and they get terrible pictures or
Yeah.
they don't ever get them. People really shouldn't be charging people if they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like, you'll see newer photographers on some of the photography groups. And I always say the best thing you can ever do for yourself is find a mentor that you can work with in person because it's so much different for someone to show you in person. Like, if you turn the client this way, the light hits them softer. If you turn the client this way, they're backlit. If you turn, you know what I mean? Than to try to take a bunch of, classes where things are just,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. I'm one of those hands-on learners. So that's what worked for me, I guess.
No, I agree because you can learn all the things about how shutter speed and ISO and aperture work together in the
Yeah,
world in a classroom, but you get outside with your clients and it is something totally different.
it is. You really, because it's hard sometimes explaining to clients. Like, I had one yesterday. She's like, we can shoot at noon. And I was like, we absolutely will not be shooting at noon.
People, of course, we didn't know these things until we became photographers. So people just really don't know that. And yeah, I get a lot of, let's just do it at noon. And I'm like, no, let's not do that.
Because they want to get up leisurely. The teens
Yes.
want to get up leisurely.
Yes.
And they want to do their hair leisurely and their makeup leisurely. And I'm like, no. Like, my girls in Cali, after they would be on A team for a little bit, they would have to, everybody be like, why are you getting up so early with Stacee? And they're like, the proof is in the pictures, ladies. Like, they would all like, trust me, just go out there, grab a coffee or Red Bull on the way. They were like, it's just worth it. Go get it done early in the morning with Stacee. And I'm like,
Sometimes the biggest reflector in the world is not going to save you at noon.
I can't. I can't with the reflectors. I can't. Those things are like sails on a boat. Okay.
Yes, if you have any wind at all, it's just a disaster.
Forget it.
So I would say, Stacey, that your style is kind of gritty in a good way, filmy in a
Yeah.
great way. You like your wide angle lenses. 35 is probably your favorite, I'm guessing, but I want to
Yes,
talk about this.
100%.
So you tell me how you perceive your own style.
I do. I agree with the filmy. I am wide angle 100%. I do like a bit more the vintage kind of feel. I use the 35 because honestly, like with teenagers, I love to be in their face. So I get a lot of like really candid smiles because I'm always being like super goofy and just weird, but I need to be in their face. I have a 70 to 200. And I only bring it out with the girls that I've worked with a lot because I feel like I'm so far away that I can't like manage the situation. So I go to the 35 so I can be in their face. I am filmy. really like urban. I do stuff where girls frolic in fields, yes, but is my work, do I feel more identified with my work when I'm shooting in the city? 100%. 100%.
So that really interests me that you said you really feel more in touch with your own style when you're in the urban environments. So what kind of things do you tend to like to look for in the urban environment that makes a picture very Stacey?
So, as far as the environment itself, I love going to like the rooftops of garages and getting like those beautiful city views, or finding great murals within the city to kind of complement the outfit that the model's wearing and that kind of stuff. But just generally, just being downtown, I feel like the architecture, the leading lines that architecture provides, or just the composition that it provides is so much more than what you can get if you go stand next to a tree. You know what I mean?
Okay, so one thing I notice about your work is you really like strong shadows and how you can use those in an artful way. The shadows are interacting and interplaying with your senior, and it really creates a lot of drama in your image. We're going to talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit when we look at your work, but tell me, how do you find the right shadows?
Honestly, it's still shooting in the morning. It's not like a noon shoot, but I will look for where I see like a dramatic angle. Like sometimes I was in this garage in UC Berkeley. Was it Berkeley? No, it was UC Davis, and the garage had like shadow covers that were slatted, and I took a picture of this girl where only her eyes were highlighted, and I loved it. So a lot of people are like, how do you do that? And I tell the girl to close her eyes, and then I say 1 2 3 and just shut her off, and then she closes her eyes, like it's just an open and then a close, to get pictures like that where it really makes like the eyes speak to the camera or whatever, just to be kind of drama, like bring the drama, be drama full of it, you know?
So, Stacy, what town are you located in Florida?
Like I'm right on the rim of Orlando. So a lot of my city shooting is downtown Orlando, but then I have like, I'm in farm country just outside of it. And then just between, like, I'm between the beach and Orlando.
So if you were to drive to the beach for a shoot, how long is that?
Probably about 45 minutes. It's not
Okay.
a bad drive. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask, do you shoot on the beach a lot?
You know what? In Cali, I did, and here I do as well. And it's interesting. It's really interesting. In Cali, the water was very cold, but girls always wanted that splashy beach moment kind of thing. Um, so when the girls would go in the water, like I always try to get this shot where I have their backs to the waves and the waves kind of crash around them. But in Cali, it's super cold, so I always have to kind of stand there and go, make this shot count, make the face count. Like, don't get splashed and be cold for no reason. Make it count. Here, it's a little bit different because girls, they don't want to wake up at super early in the morning and then drive to the beach. But in order to get the golden tone, it's going to be sunrise because it's the east. So it's interesting. It's different here. It's the it's a lot less rocky. California was a lot more rocks and cliffs, and here it's just a lot more green, palm trees. There's like this other plant that grows everywhere that gives a really pretty, like deep green background to it. So it's pretty interesting. So
But
yeah.
then you come into play with it's just so bright with all that sand and water reflecting, and I'm sure you get a lot of squinting.
Yes, yeah, you definitely, well, during sunrise is good because you can do a lot backlit because you're shooting towards the ocean. Um,
But if it,
any other time, you just hope that the clouds are your friend
yeah,
that day.
because I know they don't want to just have sunglasses on in a later shoot, right? I find it
Yeah.
very difficult to open my eyes on the beach sometimes. It's just so bright. So,
Well, and even the girls in Cali, I will say this too. So the girls in Cali were a little more, they wanted to be like dressed up at the beach. That kind of like big gown in the
right.
wind and that kind of stuff. Whereas the girls here are actual beach girls. So they want to put on their cutest cutoffs and like a little cover up on top of a bikini or whatever it is. So it's a lot more like beachy vibe here than in Cali, where it was more of like, let's have a big dramatic moment with a gown.
Okay, Stacey, it's time for my favorite part. We are going to look at some of your beautiful work and we're going to talk about it. This
Yep.
is the first one we're going to talk about. It's an oh so Stacey picture. And
Yes.
I love that you chose to do this one or send this one to me in black and white. It just
Yeah.
really adds to the drama. So we've got several Stacey elements here. I see we've got the wide angle, we've got drama in the colors, the sky, and the way the girl is looking. Uh,
Yeah.
and lots of shadows. We've got lots of leading lines. So this is why
Yeah.
I started out with this one. It's very Stacey. So tell me about this.
No, this is 100% me and my element. So like you said, I go for all the leading lines, the drama, the shadows. So it's all there. Everything that you said is all there. It's me. The last thing I think I want to highlight is like the girl. I think a lot of photographers out there try to hyper feminize like girls, but there's still girls out there that are like a little bit skater chick, a little bit goth chick, a little, you know what I mean? And I don't think we need to photograph everybody running through a field. It's beautiful, and some girls want that. That's great, but not every girl wants that. And, I really love this picture just because there's all this stuff going on, but you're still just drawn to her and her kind of just being relaxed and kind of hanging out, being skater girl chic.
Very much so. Now, a lot of people would probably assume this was done with OCF because you do have the very dramatic light on her face
Yeah.
and you kept a lot of the clouds. But people like you and I that shoot in natural light, we know we can do these things without the light. So,
Yes.
tell me, I assume that's just the strong sunshine on her face.
Yep, that's the sun behind us. So you see the shadows cast off to the left, and then so the sun is coming in from the right. And I just have her look towards the right. It was a nice day because the sun was coming in soft because of the clouds. But the sun's coming in right at her. So that's why I had her, instead of look directly at me, I had her just move her face just a little bit towards the right ear.
Do you have several different black and white conversions? Let's talk about this for a second because it has occurred to me that there's a lot of newbie photographers that could listen and they don't know what we're talking about. So when we convert an image from color to black and white, there's actually unlimited amount of ways that you can do it.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
can really change the look of an image based on what method or what action or preset you use. So
Hmm.
this could have come out much more even toned, less dramatic had you used a different conversion method.
Right.
Do you have a few favorites that you use?
I do. So I have one that I created myself from when I used to shoot out on Route 66. And it's a true like white, white, black, black. It doesn't really have a lot of gray tones unless, I apply it and then I fiddle with it. And then I use Arpelago. I use a lot of their. So like right now I'm editing a best friends shoot that I did, and it's like country style. So I'm using a black and white with a little bit of how do you say it? Sepia? Sepia?
Se- Sepia, I think.
Sepia. Yeah, I think so, right? So I'm using one with a little bit of that because I feel like that adds a little bit of flair and like countryness to it, like a vintage feel. I did tinker with the highlights down a bit so that her face would still be, you could see it and it's not blown out. But I also let the shadows, I let the shadows do their thing. You know what I mean?
Right, because the conversion you use is you choose it based on what you want to do with your image. So if you want a soft, pretty image, you might do something different than,
Right.
you were going for the drama here. So
Yeah.
everybody who is new, really study these black and white conversions. You don't want to just generally go to saturation and just remove all the color. That's going to be a pretty
No.
boring, flat black and white.
So another thing that I will say is, so sometimes when I want to get a prettier skin tone, if you go to the HSL panel, When you're in black and white, you go to the HSL panel and you take that little, it's like a circle with an arrow up and an arrow down. And you'll, like, let's say the skin tone is too dark. Because some black and whites will do that.
Yeah.
Some black and whites will really make a girl that's not very tanned look like she's been in the tanning bed
Yeah.
like for 6 hours. And if you just hover over the skin and then scroll down, it will only desaturate that color to bring back a more natural color to the skin, or a natural black and white tone.
Yes. Yes. Okay, this is another thing I was talking about, very Stacey, and this is these dramatic shadows that you find in the city, and you
Yep.
really work with that. And this girl really worked with you on this.
So it's another one where the sun's coming in and her face is directly towards the sun. So you really want to pay attention. Could her face be angled directly at me? Yes. But then the shadows on one side of the face wouldn't look appropriate. So I've literally, you have to tinker with it like a little bit more. Okay, just right here. As far as turning their head, because you want those lovely shadows that kind of like etch out the nose and make the lip look a little more plump, but don't make them look where the shadow's coming and it's just like dark circles under their eye and that kind of stuff. So you really have to tinker with how direct you are at the sun. You don't want to be like straight at the sun. You want to be like a little bit just off. Does that make sense?
It totally does. And if a person was a studio photographer, they're going to call what this is doing here is like basically Rembrandt lighting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're just, instead of having a studio light and a modifier, you're also thinking of the position of the sun related to your subject's features and what that's doing and what
Hmm.
flattering looks. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's carved out her cheekbones and everything. Like, it's just really pretty the way that, like, direct sun can hit somebody. If you know, like, if you tinker with it, you can make it look really nice.
And you're doing something that I love in my own work and I love it in yours, and that you don't have to always be smiling in pictures. So much of our lives
Mhm.
are spent not smiling. Why do we think we have to smile all the time? And this girl, she's just got a little bit of an enigmatic expression. You're not sure what she's thinking,
Yep.
a little proud, a little hesitant. It's just wonderful. And you
Yeah.
do a lot of this.
Yeah. And I know a lot of photographers, they'll take posing classes and it's about like sit, stand, squat, this, that. But when you're in a pose, have them smile a big smile. Have them, I tell them straight up, do a resting bee face. You know what I mean? Do the resting bee face.
Yeah.
And, go through it all. Like, find that pose and pay attention to facial expressions because you can get a lot of variation just in facial expression.
Exactly. One of my favorites of yours, for sure. You were in an old airport, I know, and I love things that look like they're right out of the 60s or 70s. So tell me about.
Oh, I do. I love vintage drama like this. So this is the Sacramento airport. The garage is actually on the other side of this runway. We just went into there and this runway was so great. Like, I love urban stuff, and it's exactly because of this. When the architects and designers build buildings and facades, they think about all these things like leading lines and just design and all that stuff. And so you can find cool spots like this in the city, in airports, that just really make your picture just, oh wow, like, you know.
Well, you played into the vintage feel in that she almost looks like she's wearing a retro stewardess outfit. And
It's
she,
an Amazon special.
okay.
But it is, so this dress was actually really popular. I shot it for a Christmas session one year. Then we did blue for her, and then I did red for another session that I did. This dress is it, and everybody likes it. It's made so well. The fabric's good. It's got pockets. Like, all the girls put it on, and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." Yeah, I know.
You got the vintage suitcase there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I really like that you went with blue for her dress and the suitcase to contrast all that tan. I think that's a
Yeah.
good choice there.
Some things this actually I didn't do. I will be honest, I didn't do scouting, so this was just a very happy accident.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a very happy accident. I played more onto her like what would look good with her skin tone, and I just thought that this color would just be beautiful on her, and that's kind of why I picked it.
Love it. And again, natural light.
Yes. Yeah. It
Don't
was
need.
extremely cold. I remember that day. It was extremely cold. It was raining a lot, so I was like, thank God we're shooting indoors. And it was extremely overcast because it was raining, but that's all natural light just filtering through. Okay.
Oh, goodness. I love this. So this appeals to my romantic vibe that, and you
Yeah.
and I love romantic things as well, which that's not necessarily what I think of your style, but you do the romantic really well, I think. So tell me about
Yeah.
this shoot.
So this is actually the same girl that you saw in the first photograph in the skate park.
Wow.
So this is what I love about A Team. That's my, model rep team. We do such a variety of things where they can be the skate park girl, but they can also do some really pretty stuff. So the not the draperies, but the tablecloths hanging from the tree are actually my grandmother's vintage tablecloths. And then everything else is like pretty much from, I just go to the thrift store and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's all right. I like that. And just kind of bring it all together. And I got to tell you, Florida is just beautiful and lush and green, and there's Spanish moss hanging off the trees, and it's been really fun. California was different during the summer. In California, everything was gold wheat colors, so it was a much different, vibe than this, where this is just really beautiful, just kind of green lush grass.
Really is beautiful.
Yeah.
So, this has got to be one of your favorite models. I've seen this girl a lot in your work.
Yes. So she was on my A team, my model rep team for 4 years. And then even this past year, she came down to Florida and I shot her at Disney's Boardwalk. And she's planning to come again on spring break to shoot again. So she loved A team, and she was very open to being dressed whatever kind of way, and she was really good at like doing her hair and makeup to kind of be cohesive with the outfit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used her a lot because other girls would be like, I'm not wearing that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, would you do this for me? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
The girls that let you just run with things benefit so much because they oftentimes can't see your vision and
Yeah.
they're very curated about their appearance sometimes. But when you find the girls that'll just let you do what you want, I think it turns out to be such a great experience for them as well.
Oh, 100%. And with this girl, because she was with me for so long and we did so many sessions, I'm like, listen, you don't have to like every session. You don't have to even, if you don't like it, don't download it. If you don't like the pictures, keep moving past it. You have so many other photos that speak to you and that you love. Go with that. But like some of the stuff she knew I was doing for like, I want to enter this contest or I want to do this or whatever. So she was like very much willing to kind of just play around with style.
And she always seems to do such a good job of selling the look that you've got her in, I think.
Oh, 100%. She's very masterful. She is. I was very lucky to meet her. It was like she was like the first person that joined my model rep team. I literally went on like a local Facebook group and I was like, I'm looking to start a model rep team. I'm looking for people that want to do it. And her mom was like, can you tell me more about it? And so I told her mom all the details, and she was like, I'd love for my daughter to come and meet you. And the first shoot we did was in a laundromat, and I mean, she was just on it, like just turned 16 and was like on it. And I was like, can you please join my model rep team? I would love to have you. And we just ran from there.
Yeah, really. It's like there were angels singing in the sky for you, I'm sure, when you started to photograph
She
her.
shot with me so much that she had her own go bag. So she had a gym bag full of like, she had like a tan bodysuit, like little workout shorts to go under outfits, a strapless bra. Like she had her own go bag so that she could just show up to shoots and do whatever we needed to do.
This is so fun. It's got
Yeah.
a lot of color in it too, which I don't necessarily always associate with your work.
Yeah, so this is downtown Sacramento with the murals. This is literally a mural. I think it was on the side of a car wash.
Okay.
So it was like a Bubbles Suds mural. And I was like, well, we're popping champagne. This is going to be like just to play off of it a little bit because you see all the droplets in front of my camera and then you see the mural in the background that's kind of mirroring that.
That's
And I
so
just loved it. And she had this pale white skin and the dark outfit and it just played off of the bold background.
even this champagne thing worked well. That's tricky.
I always tell them bring 2 bottles of just cheap gross stuff.
Yeah,
And then you don't shake the bottle, you pop the
right.
bottle, and then you put your thumb over the top, shake it, and then just release it like, when you're playing with a hose,
Uh-huh.
like that. And
Okay.
you just kind of, instead of trying to coordinate the pop, you coordinate the spray because that's what you want.
So many of the times, I do this a lot with the college graduates, and so many
Yeah.
times they're like, the champagne's going, and they're like, away from it. And I'm like, no, 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 you can't scooch away. You gotta just let yourself be in that.
Yeah, I usually get the cringe away.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cute. I love it. How cool is it that the mural is painted to match your whole setup?
I know, and it's honestly like it's one of those things like just a really good happy accident because I just like so a lot of what I did is we would drive to Sacramento. They had great coffee shops there. And so like usually I'd take the girls like let's go grab a cup of coffee or hot coke or whatever you want and then let's walk around and there was murals everywhere and I was like this is a perfect mural for that champagne pop. Let's do it now. And so it was just a really really happy accident.
Love this. And this is a little bit of a girl in a white dress and a field look.
Yes, it is. So this is California. You see the golden wheat grasses. This is actually so I always tell all my models on A team, I tell them, listen, when we go on a shoot, things don't always go the way that they're planned, but they go the way that they should. And that's kind of the motto that I give them. And they're like, huh? But then they get it. So this was actually supposed to be a Halloween shoot, Corpse Bride or something like that. So, but then she showed up and I was like, no, we're just going to shoot this like this. Like, let's just go with it. And the sun was just coming in beautifully. The golden wheatgrass, like, there's just so much like tone cohesiveness through the whole thing and it's so romantic. And I know a lot of photographers go in there and get rid of, the hairs that are wild. I love wild hair. I love hair that's blowing in the wind. I love stray hairs. I'll give all the time if hair's blowing in the face, I'll give it because if it looks cute, it looks cute. I know most people would edit that hair out in front of her face. I love it. I just love it.
Well, you
I
do
don't
a
know.
little bit more realism in your edits anyway, I've noticed. So that just kind of falls right in with
Yeah.
your style.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much.
Pretty. All right. Who doesn't love a girl in a skate park?
So this is a different girl in a different skate park. This one was in California. This is very much like, an 80s, 90s vibey with the, Converse and the gym socks and the crimped hair. It was just very cute. And it's funny because I think you said this one time too, is like all the boys just stop and like they don't know what to do with
Yes.
themselves as soon as a pretty girl enters the skate park and is doing something. But
Right.
it was the same vibe. She's so cute.
Well, you also like that, just a little retro look to some of your pictures.
I do. My dad, growing up, he was a photographer and he shot film my entire growing up. So I think your eyes just get used to, or your brain goes like, that's the way that it's supposed to look. And I love playing. The other thing that you can always tell about my work is I play with sunbursts all the time. So they're always there. I angle myself so it's just popping, but not too much.
Yeah, it's a good pose too. This kind of pose, there's a lot of pitfalls that a person can fall into related to.
Yes, you always need to angle, you want to angle the legs just slightly away from the front of the camera.
I also like, a lot of people really work on that when they're using a 35 like you do, get that distortion going. So the leg extended towards the camera and all, but I really like that this is just a straight normal, looks like it was taken with a film camera. You're not doing this modern thing where you're shoving your foot at the camera.
And I try to pose my girls like I try to do a variety of things, especially with my model reps where we do like ultra feminine stuff, but we also do like really strong bossy chick kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, you can go hang at the skate park with dudes. Let's not feel uncomfortable about that, you know? Like let's go strut our stuff downtown and be cool, you know? You're a boss too. So I like to give them both that ultra feminine, soft, romantic,
Yes.
right out of a Bridgerton novel kind
Right.
of feel. But I also like to let them know, like, hey, you can also do strong female stuff, you know?
All of us have all those sides to us. It's just some girls just want the one side portrayed, which is fine. It's their senior portraits, and if that they want to look just very feminine, that is totally fine. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
get intrigued with these that are more like what you're talking about here, just a strong, not necessarily hyper feminine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
like.
always notice with my A team too, like the first shoot that they do, it's never a bad shoot, but they always come what they think they're supposed to wear,
Yes.
right? With their hair curled, with the shirt that they think they're supposed to wear, or the dress that they think they're supposed to wear. They come like they think they're supposed to be instead of like who they actually are. And I notice once they're on A team for a while and we start playing with stuff, you start seeing who they are authentically come out more and more, and they stop doing what they think they're supposed to do and they just do them.
Well, that's really a benefit of a program like yours, where your A team, you see them a number of times throughout the year. And so they really do get comfortable with you, and their true selves, I'm sure, really shine after one or two shoots. Okay, we're going to move on. So the texture here is out of this world. I love it so much. Tell me about the shoot.
This was one of my model calls when I first moved to Florida because I needed to scout areas and I just wanted to have a teen in front of, like, I didn't want to just be taking, oh, look at this wall, let me take a picture of it. So I did a model call, to get adjusted to a few of the areas and do that scouting work that I needed to do. And she's oh my God, she was gorgeous. I don't know. I just loved her whole vibe. I loved the curls. I loved it all. But there was just a wall of greenery. We just, and the edit says everything grainy and matty and all the things. It's got a very like almost like one of those retro guest ads, but like a little more uh realistic. Like if you didn't have like, the Barbie model and you had like a real woman in the
Yeah.
old vintage guest ads, this is what it would look like, right?
Again, your black and white conversion you chose, I'm sure, very purposefully for how you wanted to portray the image.
Yeah.
A lot of
You
con.
have to just like, and I don't think people do it enough. Like everything needs to be in color, I think. Like, you see a lot of like there's senior photographers out there who don't do black and white. They mainly like want to pop their pinks and their greens and their colors. Whereas like I feel like if you just put it in black and white, you see the person. You're not focused on the greens or the pinks or anything. You just see her, right? And I think that goes back to me, learning from a documentary photographer that it was like, if the color's not serving a purpose, just get rid of it. And so it focuses on the subject
Right.
itself.
So you remove that color information and your brain doesn't have all that input coming in. And so
Right.
it really can then seize on other parts of the picture. And for black and whites, oftentimes it's the emotion of the moment, the look on their face,
Right.
what are they thinking? In color, sometimes it's depends on how it's done, but it can be more difficult to really get that feeling across.
Oh, 100%. Because when you see this picture, you don't see, you're not distracted by the greenery or anything in the back or like, are her clothes matching or any of those things. You see the expression on her face. You see how her arms are posed. You see how her hips slightly pushed to the right. You see those things rather than focusing on like, what is she wearing or what's behind her.
Yeah, and to me, it's
Yeah.
just that expression. Again, there's just a little mystery in that, which I love. To me, it
Yeah.
just amazing expert image when you can get a subject with a real kind of puzzling expression on their face. Just
Yeah, because as girls, we should talk about boys at some point later, maybe another another one because we do
yeah,
shoot guys, but we shoot mostly girls. But like we don't walk around like, hey,
right.
like all the time.
That's
Sometimes we are, you know.
yeah, so true. So the last image we're going to talk about today is this one, which might be my favorite.
I
Um,
know this is a great image. It really is. A lot of people are like, "Where did you shoot that? What did you do?" Okay, so where this is a place called Mare Island in California. And Mare Island used to be a huge US naval base, like huge US naval base. They would come up into the bay and there was just a lot going on. And then all of a sudden they shut the whole naval base. But there's still all this old Navy stuff out there. So these big mechanical things for moving boats and doing all this stuff. So this isn't even like, like a building that was like specifically designed to be beautiful, right? This is like this thing that moves stuff. I don't even know what it was, but it just comes in and it's like, hey, and you're looking right at her and the sky behind her is just beautiful. Like everything, you just have these happy little coincidences just
yeah.
come together to make a beautiful photo that you didn't even plan for.
Well, I really love your composition choice of setting her off to the side and you being a little bit from the side so it's not so symmetrical with all that. This piece over in here that's coming out there, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And
I don't do too much editing. I know a lot of other people would have gone like, "Oh, let's get rid of this and let's move that." And some people would even shot it straight on, right? So it would have been very symmetrical. I just loved it this way. And the sun is on the right side, so that's why I didn't want the sun blowing out, the lens. So that's why I kind of moved a little bit to the right and shot it at an angle, right? And then I think like the stuff in the background, I didn't remove it because like this is a real place and this is what it really looks like.
you talked about how the sun position did dictate a little bit where you were standing.
Hmm.
And that when you're out in the field and you can't change where buildings are in comparison to where the sun is, in comparison to where there might be some ugly object in the background that is casting a weird shadow. And like you have a lot to think about when
Yeah.
composing an image that isn't just trying to follow some sort of print composition dictate about how it's composed. Yeah.
Right. And I think what helps me a lot with that is that I did start out with shooting like street photography and travel photography. So I'm paying attention a lot to, the structure of things and where the lines are leading to, and is it symmetrical? But if it's not symmetrical, then how is that affecting the composition?
Right.
So I pay a lot of attention to that. And then you add the model in to where you feel like it's going to be most impactful and you move from there.
Yeah. And I love how the structure is so strong with all the steel, and you've got her in a really strong pose, which just adds to the whole thing. You couldn't put a girl in a flowing dress here and really get that same look, you know?
You would have to do it in a more
Yeah.
romantic way. But I
Right.
really do. I think that's part of the thing that I stress most in in my A team shoots is like, I want to make sure that the girls that come in contact with me learn to be strong and that they have voices that matter and that they can be where the boys are and all that stuff. Because I feel like norms and society already does a great job of teaching us how to be feminine, right? So when they come in contact with me, let's bring your voice out. Let's show them that you're a strong, brave girl, like you got the balls in you and you're going with it, right? And I think that also plays into I was a chef and I worked in a male dominated environment, and it took me a while to find my voice to where I could compete with the other men working in the kitchen, right? So I don't know, it's like all your life experiences come together sometimes and you're like, okay, this is what I'm passionate about.
Exactly. Well, I love it. And you can tell you are passionate about it. You're from your social media and your website and just how you describe things. You can tell that photography and seniors in particular just really are a passion for you. And it's really refreshing to hear that.
Yeah.
And exactly why I'm doing the podcast. So, yay. Well,
I'm so happy I'm finally able to do it. Yay!
I know, me too.
Yeah.
So I would love to have you back on here in a few months and we'll
Yeah.
talk about something entirely different.
Oh,
And
yeah. We always have something to talk
we
about.
do. So I want to thank you for coming on with me today. It's
Yes,
been
ma'am.
really interesting and I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.